This is a test question. Who is a photographer's best friend? The tripod. The tripod. This is a best friend. This, in most instances, is going to separate you from Uncle Harry. This is going to make a big difference in your work. Now, you don't always use a tripod, and that there's times when you're just going to shoot handheld. But how good of a handheld videographer are you? Some people are terrible. They just cannot hold that camera still. They can't make nice movements with it. They're all over the place. And that, so a lot of times you might be going down. I'm going to say, hey, I want you to go down to film our superintendent. He wants to go over something. So you go down there and you're holding the camera. He starts talking for 25 minutes. You want to try to hold that camera still for 25 minutes? I don't think so. So you use a tripod. It's a videographer's best friend. Okay. I have close-ups of everything just to show you some of the adjustments that you have on the tripod. When you put the tripod away, it's going to look something like this. The legs are folded up, and we have our center shaft that's exposed a little bit, and you'll see they hang right over there on those shelves on the far side. So when we get done, you put them away. They should be like this, and then they will slide right on the shelf. Okay, tripod stands for 3. We have 3 legs on the tripod, and we have a couple knobs that you can adjust. Now, I put down here, this is really important. You only need approximately a 1/4 turn, and that to loosen these up. So if I turn this just about a 1/4 turn, this leg is going to come out. It's going to come out. What happens? People start turning this, and they turn this, and they turn this. All of a sudden, this bolt pops out, and it goes bing. Why does it do that? Because there's a spring in here that you do not see. And when it does that, this goes flying across the room, and then people go, oh. So they go over and they get it and they put it back on, and they forget about the little washer that was on there that's somewhere on the floor. They put it back together, and now it won't tighten up. So if you see some tripods, this is unusual, this doesn't have one, with some big old silver washers on there, I've had to replace them. I've had to replace bunches of them because people do not do this, only a 1/4 of a turn. You do not need to turn and turn and turn. If you turn it just a 1/4 of a turn, that leg will come out. So when you put it back, you're going to need to, turn it, just maybe a 1/4, maybe to a 1/2, but you never go all the way around with it. But a 1/4 of a turn will loosen it up, and the leg will come out. Then we can tighten the leg. And then I can go ahead and turn this one, and the leg will drop down. The leg will drop down, and I can tighten that up. Now, you have one section, so now our tripod is going to be this high, but remember our camera is going to mount on here, so our lens is going to be about this high, right here. That might be okay. If I'm filming somebody sitting down, this height might be appropriate, because usually the rule of thumb is we want to get the camera lens approximately eye level or slightly higher. So if somebody's sitting down, this might not be too bad. If somebody's standing up, their eyes are going to be up here, you'd have to tilt the camera up, and when you do that, you're looking up at the person, and you look right up their nose and see all the hairs and boogies and everything up there. It doesn't look very pleasant looking up somebody's nose. And that, so you want to get up on eye level or slightly higher. So we would have to extend the second section of legs. So we can turn that. That drops down. I see somebody had that one really loose, because all we have to do is go like a 1/4 of a turn, it'll fall out. It'll fall out, or you might have to tug on it, and then just finger tighten these. Now when we bring the tripod, it comes up to full length, and now when we put our camera on here, the lens is going to be about up at this height. And if we need to get the camera up even higher, we're going to have the ability with the center shaft, we're going to have the ability to pedestal up, get the camera up here. Now the lens is up here, and that just from working with the tripod. So remember that you have 2 leg adjustments, and you only need a 1/4 of a turn. Don't spin and spin that thing, because I guarantee it's going to go flying out. I got plenty of tripods over there to prove that people weren't careful with it. Now, if you were outside, you're on uneven ground, you're in the stadium, you're in the gymnasium, you're trying to set this up, there's not enough room on the steps, you don't always have to have these extended exactly the same length. Let's say there's a step right here. I can do this. I can fold this one up. I can fold this one up. and I'm looking, it's a little crooked. I'm going to bring that up a little higher. I'm trying to get it approximately level this way. That looks pretty close. So there, that works. That works because maybe there's a step, maybe there's a bench or something, or the ground's uneven. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get this part that the camera sits on, want to try to get that level so the camera's not cockeyed. So it's not cockeyed. Now you don't have to worry about that when you put it on the floor because most floors are level. But there are times that, especially if you're outside, you're on a hillside, what you're trying to do, the final object is to get this level so it's not crooked. So you might have to adjust your legs differently to do that. But you can do whatever you need to with the legs. Just going to extend that all the way, tighten it, bring it and tighten it. Now, what you want to do is before, in fact, let me bring this down just a little bit here. What you want to do before you ever put a camera on the tripod, I say you put Joe Schmedley on it, which is you. You put you on the tripod, put some weight and go, whoa, what happened? You go, what would have happened to your camera if you had set your camera on there and the leg wasn't tight? This could go and boom, there goes the camera, and cameras do not bounce. Do not bounce. And the camera's on the floor because you didn't check the legs. So what you need to do when you tighten these, just snug them. You don't have to really crank them, snug them. But before you put a camera on the tripod, unconsciously, just do it unconscious, in your subconscious, just take your weight, push down. Just do that. I do it anymore, I don't even think about it. I just set these up and do this, and I push down on it. And if it doesn't budge, I know I'm okay. But I mean, I've done the same thing. I thought I tightened up everything, and I push on it, and all of a sudden, one of the legs goes down. So get in that habit. When you set it up, just go, and you're done. You're done, you're all set to go. So something that simple can save a very expensive camera. Okay, on the tripod, we have the legs, but then we have the tripod head. That's this section right here. Right here, they call this the tripod head. This particular tripod's made by Bogan. Bogan actually designs their tripods where you can buy just the legs, and then you can buy all kind of different types of video heads. One's for still cameras, one's for film cameras, the video cameras we're using, stills, whatever, because this one actually is made for a video camera, and it simulates what they call a fluid head. So you have nice, smooth movements when we go left to right and when we go up and down. So this particular head is made for a video camera. But this is the tripod head. These are the tripod legs. Okay, on the top, right up here, there is a threaded bolt. That's what's used to mount the camera onto the tripod. So what we need to do, I'll go back. If we take our camera and look at the camera, on the very bottom, you're going to see two holes. If you look at the one, you can see it's threaded. That's what we want to put that bolt into that hole. That's what you're looking for. Now, after a while, you can do it really quick. To begin with, you'll have to play with it and look at it to get it lined up. What it is, we actually have, if I turn this up this way, so you can see this, it's going to look like this. We have a very small knob in the center, then we have the larger knob on the outside. And this says small knob first. This means that we want to turn the small knob first. We want to tighten it first when we put the camera on until it's tight. Then we just want to snug it down with the big knob. Snug it down with the big knob. And you have to go in that order. When we take it off, we just do the opposite. We loosen the big knob, then we can loosen the small knob and take the camera off. So you have to go in that exact order. Now, it might be easier for you sometimes to take this down this direction, because if we actually looked at this from this position, and you ever heard of when you're tightening bolts, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty? Yes, people have heard that before. So basically, to tighten it, it's looking at it from this position here. We would want to take the small knob, turn it to the right or clockwise until it's all the way up in the camera, and then we're going to take the big one and turn it this way. So if you have it up this way, to do it, which is what I usually do there. In that, I still do the same thing, but I would have to look at it here and righties that way, go in that direction. So you have to remember righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, clockwise, counterclockwise. But we go with a small knob, then the little one. What you do, hang on to the handle, make sure you have a good grip on it, and find the threaded hole, find the bolt, line those up. Now, I'm turning it clockwise to the right. I'm turning the little one. And I'm turning, and I'm turning, turning, turning. Ah, it quit. That's fine. I don't need to go anymore. Now I'm going to go grab a hold of the big one, and I'm going to tighten it. If I don't tighten the big one, the camera can do this. The camera can move on the head. We don't want that. We want this to be one part of the head. So that's why you have to tighten the big one next. Now, the camera's secure on here. And what I did is I just moved this a minute ago. Make sure before you let go of this, it is on the tripod. Don't assume that it's on there. Just make sure that it is on there. Then once it's on the tripod, then we'll be able to use the camera. Now to take it off, we go the opposite way. The big one, I loosen it. And then as soon as it's loose, I go with the little one, and it's off. Spin it, and it's off. Putting it on, line up the holes. Little one, small knob first, big knob second. Wiggle it, yep, it's tight, and we've got it. That's all there is to putting it on there. Okay, now we're going to talk about a couple of the controls. You basically have 3 controls for your tripod. Over on, right here, you can see this knob. Over on this side of the camera, over on the right side, and that is a knob. That is called your tilt control. Tilt means to be able to take your camera in an arcing motion up and down. So if I loosen that just a little bit, I don't need to turn it, maybe just, excuse me, maybe not even a quarter of a turn, it's loose where I can do this with the camera. And actually I've got it so loose that it would fall. We don't want it where it would fall. We want it tight enough where there's some, what we call drag, there's tension. So if I let go of it, it doesn't move. If I let go of it, see it's moving a little, I'm going to just tighten it up just a smidge. So we want some tension. So if you were doing a tilt up, I'm going to get a shot of these tennis shoes, and I'm filming on those, and then I can just go and just do a nice slow tilt right up to the eyes. So that is a movement. It's called a tilt. It's not bring it up, it's called a tilt. But you can adjust this. I can make it a little bit tighter to put a little more drag, because you want drag so you don't have it going, it's real jumpy and jerky. It's nice and smooth coming up. So that is called a tilt. So that's where your tilt knob is located. So when you go practice today, find out where your tilt knob is. And then once you get it in a position so it doesn't do this, tighten it down. It's not going to move now. Loosen it up just a little bit. And like I said, it only takes maybe 1/8 of a turn, and it will loosen up. You don't have to turn them very much. But that is your tilt control. So you can go up and down in an arcing, not straight up and down. I'll tell you about that in a second. You're going to go up and down in an arcing fashion. Now the next control is the pan. Pan means left to right, right to left. That's this movement where people say, hey, go right. No, it's not go right, you know, pan right, pan left. I always hear people like Jay Leno or Conan O'Brien or somebody on there, he says, hey, you know, pan down here. You don't pan down, you tilt down. So they don't even know the correct terminology, and they're in the business. And you'll hear them say stuff wrong all the time. You develop a vocabulary, and that we tilt down, we pan left, we pan right. But this particular knob, for a lot of you, when I ask you, I say, hey, tighten up your pan control. You can't find it. It's underneath the camera. It's right here on the tripod head, right here. That's the pan control. Once again, if it's tight, I can't pan the camera. If I loosen it just a little bit, not even 1/8 of a turn, now I can pan. And if I wanted to pan, if I wanted to start shooting right here, and I would do it first. I would look in the camera, and I'm going to go on over, and I'll say, oh, right when I hit that water bottle, I want to stop. Figure out what you want to do. Okay, then I would start back here, and I'm just even taking my finger, and I'm trying to create one smooth movement. I don't want to stop, start again, stop, start again, stop. I want one smooth pan, just to be able to do this, and when I get to what I predetermined I want to stop at, stop. So many times people stop, they go, oh, I want to go a little more. Don't do that. Don't do that. Determine before you start shooting where you want to stop and start. And so now you have one pan. Maybe I want to pan the different way. It's going to take me another 8 seconds. I start recording, and then maybe I go a little bit faster, and I go from right from left. And now I've got that shot to work with later if I want to. But the control for that's right under here. That is your pan control. If I lock it down, you can't pan it. If I lock my tilt down, you can't tilt. It's locked down. Loosen it just maybe 1/8 of a turn. You do not want it like this, where it's real loose. You want some tension. You want some tension. It wants to be a little bit difficult to do that. This way it gives you a nice, smooth pan. Okay, our last control, and then we're going to be done. Last control is called a pedestal control. Oh, I do want to show you it's not a control. People look under here and they start to adjust the pan, and they go right over here and they turn this knob. It's locked. Why is it still locked? And all of a sudden the handle comes out. Okay, this is the control for the handle. That just holds the handle in. Leave the handle in the camera. That's not a control. Leave the handle there. You do not need to take it out. Just leave it on the camera. And when you mount these, the handle always goes to the back. Handle always goes to the back. Invariably, I'll be testing people when they get the camera all set up and I see the handle out to the front. Nope, handle's to the back so you can control the camera. So you don't need to mess with this at all. That stays right there. The one that you're looking for, if it isn't the pan, is called the pedestal control. And that is the knob that is located down here at the legs, and there will be a knob somewhere. You got to just look for it, find the knob. I'm going to hold on to the camera because I've got weight on there now. If I loosen this up, now I can take the center shaft, I can raise this up, and I can bring this up higher, you know, right to that point. If I wanted to get it that high, then I can tighten this down. Now I can add more height to the camera. So we have it up here. We would have her screen out. I'm going to loosen my pan control. Now I'll be able to pan. If I wanted to tilt down a little bit, I'll go, okay, that tilt's going to be fine. Now I can get a shot from up here. That's called a pedestal. And invariably I see people, usually a lot of times the girls are going, it's too tall for me, I can't see. And they're up like this trying to see. Remember the little monitor screen? You can turn it. Turn it down. Turn it down. Now you can see. No problem at all. And you can look at it and you can get this really nice high angle shots. And that, don't always shoot everything from right here, from right at eye level. Try different things. Try something down on the ground. Try something up high. I've even taken cameras like this. If I want to get a neat shot, it takes a little bit of work with it, but I'll turn it on and I'll do this. I can go right up by the ceiling and I can get a shot of the classroom from right up there just by having it on the tripod and picking it up. So anytime you want to raise the camera straight up and straight down, it's the pedestal. It's the pedestal control. So if I told you to pedestal up 2 inches, you just loosen it up, bring it up a couple inches, and that's fine. A lot of times if you had the legs down and you wanted to raise it up a little bit, well, you don't have to bring up the second set of legs. You could just pedestal up a little bit. Once you get it to where you want to, tighten it down. You don't want that sliding up and down. Now you just want to be able to control your pan and your tilt. So on the tripod, you have 3 controls. You have your tilt control, your pan control, and then you have your pedestal control. Do not take the handle out. And on your knobs, just loosen them enough. See, if I turn it, I can actually push that leg right back in. So that will go in and out. When you put them away, put the legs all the way in. And let me see if there's anything else on here. Rule of thumb, place tripod at the height needed. I don't know what that is. It all depends on what you're filming. If we've got a couple little kids playing on the ground, And that I know my grandkids, when they're playing, anytime I'm taking pictures, instead of standing up here going boom and taking pictures of them and I'm way up here, no, I'm going to get down on their level. I'm going to sit right down on the floor. So you might want to film. Maybe you don't even need to open the legs up. Just leave the legs so the camera's only this high. So it depends on, you know, what you're filming. For people that are talking or doing something, usually the rule of thumb is to, you know, like I said, eye level or slightly higher. Now, if you're doing some kind of a wild, crazy MTV type of thing, you might want to shoot a low angle, you know, coming up at them like this for an unusual effect. Or you might want to have an unusual effect shooting down on them. So you have to determine the tripod height that's needed and then tighten the legs down for that particular height. Remember to place your weight on the tripod and then before you place the camera on the tripod so it doesn't fall down. Just do that. Takes you 1 second. Get in the habit and you won't have any trouble. Adjust your pan and tilt controls. When I talk about drag, that's where you loosen it just enough so you can move it, but you'll feel some tension. It's not going to feel sloppy. It's not going to feel like this. I want tension so I can get a nice pan, and I can move it fast, but this is going to give me a very smooth movement. You're going to look different than Uncle Harry. It's going to look a lot better. It's going to be quality. And before you go anywhere, if you're getting it all set up, just lock these down, tighten them, so this doesn't move, around. I've had people, they will walk off and leave, and they will have this one a little bit loose, and over a period of time, here, you see what the camera's doing? And the camera can come down and it's going to go, it's going to stop, and this is plastic underneath here. That could easily snap the plastic, the camera can fall on the floor. So you want to tighten that on down. So,